My first YouTube video. Be gentle. Welcome everyone to Whispers from the Dark, the web show about everything the darkness. This is an experiment of a first episode that will hopefully maybe begin a weekly, bi-weekly show. My name is Royce, also known as the Doughnuts from the Top Cow message boards, and I am a fanatic of Top Cow's The Darkness. For those of you who don't know who or what The Darkness is a comic book that has been published by Top Cow Productions for around 16 years now. The Darkness is about mafia hitman Jackie Estacado, who inherits a power, you guessed it, called the Darkness. At this point, there have been 105 issues of the regular series, plus a variety of spin-offs, one-shots, and crossovers, which all add to the library of the Darkness. Also, there's been a novella, there have been 2 hit video games, action figures, statues, and if you haven't heard already, yes, a movie is in the works. My goal on this show is to basically geek out on my favorite character. I have been such a huge fan of the Darkness since I bought the original promotional poster right off the wall from my local comic book store back in '96. Since then, I've been an avid fan. I go to all the conventions and signings, I get signed comic books, sketches, commissions, and for a little while I was privileged enough to be an intern at Top Cow Productions where I was able to really actually hang out with some of the creators of my favorite comic book. Inspired by my friends over at Doughnuts Top Cow, a podcast that revolves around everything Top Cow, I've decided to try to get some attention and discussion going on about my favorite character. Most recently in The Darkness was the final issue of Act 1 in the first story arc by new creative team David Hine, Jeremy Hahn, with colors by John Roosh. This is issue number 105 and is the 4th issue in their run. And it's really good so far. Let me tell you more about it. I don't want to spoil things too much about the newer Darkness stuff, but let's just say that if you aren't reading it, you're definitely missing out. David Hine, the writer, is taking the Darkness into the realm of the disturbing, something that hasn't really been done before in the Darkness. Probably, I don't know if I've ever seen the Darkness this dark. Jeremy Hahn's art has been spot on perfect for this new run. I have my own favorite artist, but he's just very well suited for the current story, and John Roosh's colors have been complementing the art and story extremely well. The big news that I touched on earlier is that The Darkness is now being made into a movie. It now has Len Wiseman of the Underworld films attached to produce, and I think this is pretty good news since I really enjoyed the Underworld films. They're really entertaining. They have a great visual style. There's a lot of action. There's like an actual lore that they build in it, and it's got really good storytelling. So, you know, no news on directors or actors yet, but I have a lot of faith in Top Cow that they will make sure that good care is taken of their character. Now to the beginning. We start our reviews way back in the beginning with the issue that preceded the very first issue, the preview issue. Very appropriate since this is essentially a pilot episode for me. This is a preview of what is hopefully to come. My copy here is autographed by Marc Silvestri, the inker Bat, and colorist Steve Furco. I got this at a signing when they were promoting the very first issue, and I have a certificate of authenticity. This is the very first time I ever met Marc Silvestri. I believe it's the first time that I ever went to a comic book signing. This is really the comic book that, or this series at least, is really the one that got me into comic books. Before this, you know, I would maybe casually walk into a store, but as soon as I saw the promo poster, which I'll show you the cover for that later because it's the cover for 1/2 issue, you'll see what that looks like. Ever since I got that, I was hooked. Hook, line, and sinker. Also good to note about this issue is when it was released in '96, it's actually in black and white. It's a very short story. It's only about 4 pages, and then it has some additional materials in the back, you know, some sketches and things like that. It has been reproduced, not in single issue format, but in trade, and in trade it actually does have color. My preference on it is the color, fully inked and colored version. I just think that it turned out so incredibly well. I think that all the people who worked on it were at the top of their game, and although it's really nice to see the original pencils, the finished product was just undeniable for me. This issue is our first introduction to Jackie Estacado, the wielder of the darkness and the main character of our story. In this introduction, we're treated to a narrative in Jackie's own words. He introduces himself and he shows us that he's not necessarily the nicest guy around. He's a bit of a womanizer, he's a ruthless killer, and he's generally not a good guy. He then describes the darkness which he has inherited and the problems that have landed on his doorstep for him to deal with. It totally ruins his current lifestyle, and he finds out that there's all these people after him. He's got the Brotherhood, which is a cult that is trying to control him. He's got the Angelus, his mortal enemy, or immortal enemy, from the beginning of time out to destroy him, and the Marciani family, ready to go to war with his crime family. Finally, at the end of the issue, he tells us the big news. It's that he is supposed to be the hero in all this. Alright, so now it's time for my opinion of the issue. You know what it was about? Well, by the time I received this comic, I gotta tell you, I was salivating. I couldn't wait to rip into it. I'd been so excited after seeing that initial promo poster that I just couldn't wait. I'd been going into the store for, a few months probably, just asking when the next issue would come out, or if it had come out, or what was going on. I didn't know there was a schedule or a release date. I just wanted it. So anyways, the issue itself was a really good preview of what was going to be going on in the first story arc. It really gave us an idea of what it was going to be about. It set up the characters, the conflict, the villains, gave us a taste of the art, the storytelling tone of the series. I thought the art was amazing. I'd seen Silvestri's work before in Wolverine, and I loved that comic even before I was really a comic book fan, but I didn't really know it was the same guy because, as you know, I was a kid and I didn't really follow comic books in any way. But I'd have to say, after looking back at some of his former work, at this point I really think that this was some of the best work he had done. The layout of the first page was really masterful. Inks and colors also complemented his work so incredibly well. And at the time I read this, I really was fairly new to comics, but it had me hooked. That's what a comic like this should do, and they did it right. My favorite moment in this issue was the first page where Jackie Estacado explains who he is. While he's an unlikable guy, you can also tell he's going to be cool and the story's going to be funny, and the art was just really perfect. And then, of course, is the money shot. This is the first view we get of the darkness fully decked out. So at this point, awesome. I get to share some of my original art. I have a bunch of books like this. They have sketches, pinups, or not pinups, but commissions, original art, things like that. And I figure once in a while I'll just pull out a couple and talk about it. They're all darkness. I've got 2 books like this, and then 2 books of pages and commissions and stuff, so I have plenty to go through. This time I'm going to start with series creator Marc Silvestri. Marc Silvestri, originally working for Marvel Comics, left the company to be one of the co-founders of what would become Image Comics. His first major series after forming his own personal company, Top Cow, is Cyberforce. Today, Silvestri's CEO of Top Cow Productions, and he's working on a relaunch of Cyberforce. Top Cow is doing some really interesting stuff and trying to get this project going, including giving it away for free. That's right, free. If you're interested in learning more about this, you can check out their page on Kickstarter at the link in the description. This is it. I hope you enjoyed the show. My question to you today is, what do you think of my show? I'm really new to YouTube, and I'm open to suggestions. Anything you think I should do differently. Leave a comment, ask a question. I may even answer a few in my next episode. Below are links to Doughnuts Top Cow, Marc Silvestri's website, and a link to the Cyberforce Kickstarter page. Duckness signing out. Stay dark.